She called me the day before I was supposed to leave and said, go to the airport.
Okay, they prey on people like John and I.
They say the best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I need money. That's what I want. That's what I want. Yeah. That's what I want.
Hi there, I'm Tom Netchu. Welcome to another edition of Fraud Squad TV. You know, fraud isn't something that just impacts a few so-called gullible people. It's not a nickel and dime kind of crime. It's a multi-billion-dollar criminal industry, and it's growing every day. The individuals that concoct these schemes to take your money won't stop at any given limit, and they have no conscience whatsoever about taking a vulnerable victim's life savings. Our investigations are clear about that time and time again. So let's start to protect our families, our friends, and ourselves. Stay tuned for this episode's stories and valuable tips.
What is farming? A warehouse full of new computers? A farmer growing counterfeit corn? A duplicate or hacked website? Or a warehouse full of new phones? The illegal process of garnering personal information from you under false circumstances on the internet is called farming. Always make sure you're on a secure site. Look for the padlock and the S at the end of HTTP.
You know, we all look forward to getting away from it all, don't we? Traveling's our way to take a break from the everyday tensions of the world, refresh ourselves, and especially to de-stress. But when our travel plans get messed up by someone looking to take advantage of us, it's nothing but stressful. Now, that's exactly what happened in this next story. Our victim had some vacation time owed to her. She was simply looking to take a family trip to her place of birth. And then she was presented with an exceptionally good price, so she decided, I'll book a tropical getaway as well. But instead of visiting family and friends and basking in the sun, her travel plans were blacked out. And she was left with nothing but the baggage.
About 2 years ago, we had decided to go to Italy as a family, and hearing about this Rita in Sunset Sunrise Travel, that she had great discounted tickets, my dad says, here's a blank check, go to the travel agency and get us tickets.
Tiziana and her sister paid for the trip with a check given to them by their father. They didn't get any tickets that day, and that was fine with them. They understood they'd be receiving their tickets closer to the date of departure.
The first time we met Rita, she was really fun to talk to. My coworkers and I took all their money. I go there and I say, oh, I know a travel agent because I've already dealt with her. She was great. Comes back with a price. I go back. I tell my coworkers and my friends, and they said, yeah, book it. She goes, okay, a couple weeks before the flight, before the trip, you'll get your tickets.
Well, sure enough, a couple of weeks before the trip, Tiziana did receive something in the mail. But what she received had her feeling very concerned about the status of their vacation.
I never received documents this way before. And you're like, everything in your body goes, oh my God, something went wrong. She called me the day before I was supposed to leave and said, go to the airport. You've got your tickets. I was crying at this point because at this point I was just drained from so much emotion of trying to get these tickets for my friends.
Clinging to hope, Tiziana did go to the airport, along with half of her friends that were supposed to travel that day. But there weren't any tickets for them there, not one single ticket.
When we got to the airport, we knew, but we just had that that speck of hope. And at that point is where you got to the counter and you said, maybe? And it was like, no.
It all came to a head in the spring, late spring, early summer of 2005, when everyone was supposed to be receiving their tickets to travel. This wasn't some scheme cooked up on the internet. She really took advantage of people in her own community and people who were friends of her family.
It's awful. Not a, you know, for my money, for me, myself, for my own money, I don't even care about anymore. It was my friends, my coworkers. They trusted me, and I lost their money. That's what hurt. It really hurts that I did that to them, you know.
Well, in the end, Rita Giarrusso Connolly pled guilty to second-degree theft and was sentenced to 4 years in New Jersey State Prison. Tiziana and the 132 others have not received any money back for the vacations that they paid for, and Nicholas says that the chances they'll ever get any money back is slim. We're with Craig Hannaford, our resident expert on all types of fraud. Craig, Rita took a big risk here. She was doing business in her own neighborhood. I mean, surely it couldn't last long. Is that the way the scam usually works?
Well, it happens sometime where people in your own neighborhood will try and take advantage of friends and relatives. But typically, these types of travel scams, they happen over the internet or by telemarketers. So those are the types of pitches that you've really got to be careful.
Well, that makes more sense. You know, I'm often an airhead when it comes to planning a vacation. You know, you're so busy in your life, you just want to get away. It's easy to skip over details. Is that why this type of fraud is so prevalent?
Often that happens. You know, people are busy. They don't have time to make their own travel arrangements. That's why it's important to check out your travel agent with the regulating body to make sure that it's properly licensed.
He's got you thinking, doesn't he? He's got some more tips now for you to make sure you don't fall for this sort of thing yourself.
Resist high-pressured sales pitches. There's no need to make a snap decision on where to spend your vacation dollars. Never be rushed into sending money. Be very careful when buying a trip online. Make sure you buy from a trusted online travel agency. Call the airline and hotel yourself to confirm your reservations. When you buy your trip in advance, make sure you get your itinerary and tickets well beforehand. Always ask detailed questions about promotions. Make sure you get all the facts, total cost, insurance, cancellation, and any refund policies in writing before you pay. Buy travel services only from a business you know. Check the business out with your state consumer agency or the Better Business Bureau. And if you're in doubt, don't purchase your trip right away. Think about it.
We'll be right back with more Fraud Squad TV right after this.
How much money is lost each year to travel scams? 1 million? 10 million? 1 billion? Or $10 billion? Together, we give up $10 billion to fraud and travel scams. Be suspicious of low prices, watch for hidden fees or fine print exceptions. Make sure that you've got all the facts before handing over your money.
Do you have bad credit? Do you need some extra cash to get you through your week? No problem. At least that's what they promise you. You know, we see these ads all the time. There are newspapers, print ads on the internet, and you might even receive a phone call about some kind of loan. They're all going to promise you the same thing, money. Lots of it, money that you need to pay things off, money that you need to buy things that you want, and right now. Advanced fee loan scams are often targeted at people with bad credit or even those with no credit at all. The scam may start out appearing legitimate. There's documents to sign, there's applications to fill out, but in the end, that hole you're in could get much deeper than you were in before. Now look, we all want to be free and clear of our debt, but when we're not careful, this is what can happen. Take a look.
Now it's snowballed so bad, we're in debt with everybody. And disconnect notices every month. We've taken out some payday loans just to be able to, have money to live off of. We're just basically living day to day.
The advanced fee scheme is one of the most common frauds that the general public has to deal with. It involves me giving somebody money for an act that they're going to perform later. Usually it's to obtain credit, the claim that we can obtain anybody credit regardless of your background.
When I met John, and I just got a good feeling from him, and he treats me so well.
February 9th, we bought the house. February 14th, we got married.
So we had this really pretty wedding. We didn't have a reception or anything like that. My mom bought my dress and everything. We were broke, but life was good. Everything was finally coming together.
I wanted to take my wife to Ireland, because she's Irish, for a honeymoon, and we put every dime in the house.
Our honeymoon trip was going to be a 13-day trip to Ireland, and that's been my dream trip forever.
And I had a few back bills I had to, pay, and plus deposits and all that stuff. So I put in for a loan to a certain loan company.
And that's when everything kind of hit the fan. And we'd only been married maybe a month when all this started.
I had put in, for a loan, a couple different loans, which I've done before, never had a problem online. And I knew City Financial was a very big institution, so I put in a loan for them. And I got denied based on my lack of credit history. I didn't have a car. I don't do credit cards.
The next day, there was a call on the answering machine.
City Line Financial approved me for $6,000.
So when the call came through, the caller identified himself as a representative of City Line Financial. John and Doreen had applied for their loan to City Financial. So you can see they were confident the loan was not a scam. They had just applied for a loan and had a company with a very similar name in the exact same amount calling them back with a yes.
I was just like taken aback that they said no, they said yes.
I called the gentleman, and he played everything like it was professional.
Well, I told John, I said, I want to see some paperwork first. They were going to fax the information, the contract and everything, to the UPS store.
I went over, picked it up, read through it, looked at it looked all legitimate and everything.
It's important that they stop, they look at the documentation and review it very carefully, and perhaps even have an attorney sign it.
I went on the website. They had a website, the perfect professional-looking website, and people in suits and everything. I called the phone number. They have a calling feature. Please hold. Please state the extension number of the party that you want.
And then he said he needed $1,000 down.
I was like, John, it kind of does make sense, though. You're right. Collateral. They want collateral. I can't blame them.
John and Doreen were elated. The $6,000 they'd applied for was finally coming in, or so they thought.
We were supposed to wait 24 hours, and the money was supposed to show up in our account.
And then there's another gentleman. He was the customer service manager. He had called me the next day and said that the lender reassessed the loan and they needed another $1,000. And by this time, because I was relying on this loan, I hadn't paid the mortgage, I hadn't paid the car payment, I hadn't paid anything. I was relying on the loan.
We were very nervous at this point, but still not scared.
So I went over to the bank to the ATM to actually get the other $1,000 out. Otherwise, I would have been in the red before that.
If anybody tells you that the deal is only good right now, or you have to sign the deal right now, you have to enter into the agreement right now, turn and walk away. Do not let somebody push you into a situation such as that.
48 hours later, nothing.
They weren't even returning our phone calls.
So finally, 3 days later, this gentleman calls me back and says, oh, the lender backed out. That's when I started thinking, okay, so we have another lender, fine. Then he said, but for $12,000, we need another $2,000. That's when I realized he thought I was a sucker. I said, I want my money back. And he said, oh, well, we can't give it to you until such and such a date. And that day came and gone, and they were gone. Phone number was disconnected, their website was off the internet, everything. They cut and run.
This is where the tears started just flowing. We have no money, absolutely not even a penny.
My wife had put something on Yahoo Answers about this company.
I wanted to learn. I wanted to find out. And I wanted to find out where we could go for help. The first thing I did was get online, and I had asked, has anyone heard of City Line Financial?
13 people had called us, like we were headquarters all of a sudden. Same thing. They got denied by City Financial, and that night, City Line Financial would call and approve them, and they'd get scammed too.
And as a result, it's very difficult to prosecute it. It's impossible to get the money back. The money is already spent.
I don't consider myself a stupid person. I don't consider John a stupid person.
This one gentleman had taken out, I think it was a $10,000 loan to get a $40,000 loan through these people. So he was in double jeopardy.
They prey on people like John and I that either really need the money.
I was so anxious to be able to pay off the debts and go on a honeymoon, surprise my wife. I just, it was just like, all right, it's gonna happen, I mean, it just, and that's the thing, I think that's where they get you, the too good to be true thing. And you don't stop about it. Oh, great, we got it. You don't use your common sense.
The fraud perpetrator uses the fact that you don't have time to think about it as their ally, their friend. One of the best ways to prevent someone from taking advantage from you, not only on an advanced fee scheme, but any other scheme that they might try to perpetrate against you, is don't let that person talk you out of the normal scheme of approval that you go through.
It was because of me. I was supposed to be something good in his life. And now these people took that.
The biggest thing for me is I think about when I married you, I made a promise that I would take care of you, and I haven't fulfilled that. And that tears me up as a man and as a gentleman.
It's sad. And that's exactly how it can feel when somebody rips you off. And it's not getting any better. Advanced fee loans generate millions of dollars annually in both Canada and the United States. We're with Craig Hannaford, our resident expert on fraud. Craig, 25 years in the business, this must have happened a million times. How do we prevent this sort of thing from happening?
Well, the big thing for people to remember on these advance fee loan scams is if somebody or a company is getting you to send money in advance for a loan, that's a big warning sign, and stay away from that.
Now, it seems fairly simple to stay away from that, so what sort of people fall victim to this type of fraud?
Well, sadly, it's some of the most desperate people who are really in a hard way and need some money. But there's a whole other class of victims here, and that are the financial institutions, well-known financial institutions who are getting their good name taken advantage of.
Whether they had anything to do with it or not.
Right, that's right.
Stand by. Craig's got some more tips that you can use to prevent this type of fraud.
Don't make a payment to an individual for a loan. No legitimate lending organization would make such a request. Legitimate lenders never guarantee that you will receive a loan before you apply, or before they have had a chance to check out your credit status or contact your references, especially if you have bad credit or no credit record. Don't pay for the promise of a loan. You should ignore any ad or person that guarantees a loan in exchange for a fee in advance. Do not give your credit card, bank account, or social security number on the telephone, by fax, or via the internet, unless you know and trust the company and understand why they need that information. Don't wire money or send money orders for a loan. You have little recourse if it turns out that you've paid for a fraudulent loan.
We'll be right back with more Fraud Squad TV right after this.
What amount should you expect to pay in advance of receiving a loan or an investment payout? A tax prepayment, 15% of the loan or payout, a $100 processing fee, or none of the above? Almost 5 million North Americans fall for some sort of advance fee fraud every year. Never give money to make money, and if you've been a victim of such a fraud, make sure you call the police.
Have you or anyone you've known been the victim of a fraud or scam? Well, unfortunately, many of us have, and the devious methods used are eye-opening. Every year, billions of ATM transactions occur. Now that means billions of opportunities for fraudsters to get to your money. Scam artists use secret scanning devices, peepholes, and even hidden cameras to collect your bank card number and your PIN. In this segment, Fraud Squad TV takes it to the street to hear some of your stories.
Hey, so I know a guy, he went to a bar, great night out, used his credit card. Clearly, after somebody in the bar had taken the card from him to go and process it, they lifted the numbers off the card, got his card back, went home. Next day, he found that he had a $2,000 charge against his card from some specialty online retailer. And that was the first of his problems that he had. He had to go and get the card cancelled, but by that stage, a number of other transactions had gone through. As I understand it from that guy, he got all the money back. He wasn't penalized for that. But I guess the moral of the story is when you're drunk, keep your credit card close to you and use cash.
A while ago, I was a victim of fraud. I got a phone call from some company, I forget who it was, but anyway, they said that I filled out a ballot and I had won a trip. And basically what they said was like you could take 4 of your friends, you go on 8 days to Florida, and we'll throw you in a cruise to go to the Bahamas and all this stuff. And I was like, oh yeah. And then next thing I knew, I gave them my credit card number and $800 was charged right away to me. And then I told my parents about it. They were like, oh my God, what have you done? And my dad goes and checks it out on the internet for me, and he said that a lot of people have been scammed the same way. My only advice is, if it's legitimate, they'll give you time to think about it. You don't have to make your decision on the spot, and don't be fooled. Don't make your decision the way I did, and you'll be okay.
A friend of mine did have her debit information taken away from her, so she went to a store. I guess she was just doing some shopping, and before she knew it, somebody got into her debit account and had taken the money out of her account. It took a few months, I think, for her to finally resolve the issue with her bank. I think maybe about 3 or 4 months, but she eventually did get all of her money back. But it was definitely a process.
Always hide your PIN. If anything on the ATM seems unusual, don't use it. And report it to the financial institution. If someone seems to be loitering near the bank machine, then go to another machine. Always protect your PIN. If your debit card is lost or stolen, notify your bank immediately. I'm Naomi Joy for Fraud Squad TV.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode of Fraud Squad TV.
That's what I want.